Hello, my name is Bob Brunninger. The purpose of this video is to show a step-by-step procedure on the barrel assembly takedown of the Remington Model 8 and 81 semi-automatic rifle. Today we're going to be using a reproduction of the original Remington spanner wrench. I'd like to give you a brief history, show you the design, review the design, and show you the proper usage of the tool. So let's get started. And here it is. We have a reproduction of the spanner wrench by CBR. We'll take it out of the package. The spanner wrench was introduced approximately 1906 when the first Remington Model 8s came out. And the wrench was produced in aid to take down the barrel assembly. The way it was designed was we have a spanner on one end with two prongs that was used for the barrel bushing. And then we have a barrel nut tool with a little prong on the end that fits into the little hole into the end of the barrel nut and aid in taking that down. The tools were made with thin metal. They were pressed out and they were made very cheaply and inexpensively. They were never made for abuse and misuse and a lot of force and pressure. They were simply a tool to aid in the simple takedown of the rifle. And over time, Remington discovered that the wrenches were not panning out. They were sustaining a lot of damage from being tweaked, misused, and sometimes pounded on. So what would happen would be the two prongs would get damaged and buggered up pretty good. They'd get twisted out of shape. Then at the other end, we have the little nub that goes into the barrel nut hole. That would break off. They just weren't made for such pressures and misuse. So we're going to show you the proper use of the tool. Let's proceed to the muzzle of the barrel. Now again, the spanner was designed and means to span, obviously. But the radius curve of the Y-shaped yoke was made to span around the barrel nut. Many believe that the nut comes off first, and then I've had some people say that, well, the wrench slips out of the slots and wants to go all over. Obviously, it was never meant or designed to be used that way. So that is incorrect. That is not the way Remington designed the wrench. This wrench was designed specifically for this purpose and this use. The spanner goes around the nut and the prongs inserted into the slots on the barrel bushing. The barrel nut helps aid. It is not really a leverage point, but to a point it is. And it helps keep the wrench centered and in the slots. You can't slip out as long as you keep even pressure on it. So let's proceed. With steady pressure, you want to go in a counterclockwise motion. We're going to turn and break the barrel bushing free first. We're going to turn that bushing until we're sure that it's free, and there it is. Now, for the purposes of this video only, we're using a Remington Model 8, and we have it secured in a vise with heavy padding. I don't suggest using this on your prized possessions, but as I say, this is a test rifle, and this is how we're going to proceed so that we can show you the video. Once that's broken free, now you can go to the barrel nut end of the wrench. And the shape is designed to go around the nut. Here again, that little projection is inserted into the hole in the nut. And again, we go in a counterclockwise rotation. So we're going to steady pressure and we're going to turn the barrel nut. You're going to hear a clicking sound. That clicking sound is the teeth in the back of the barrel nut disengaging on the washer, the nut washer. It has serrations in there that the teeth engage in. This is what helps lock it in place and keep it secure. We're going to keep turning the barrel nut until we feel that it's relatively free, that we may be able to undo it with our fingers. If not, continue to use the barrel wrench and turn it fully out. Okay, barrel nut aside, or barrel wrench aside rather, we can turn this out now with our fingers. The thread's about a ½ inch long. Goes into the shroud. Okay, there we have it. The barrel nut's removed. You can see the teeth on the back of the barrel nut. And we'll get into the interior and the washer as we progress. We'll put this aside. Now we're going to go down here to the receiver end. You'll notice too, I've removed the forearm of the stock. This exposes our takedown lever right here. Now the takedown lever also goes in a counterclockwise rotation. So we have to break that free, and we continue turning that counterclockwise until the bolt inside the receiver, the threads, are totally turned out. And once we get to a certain point, you'll see we have free play travel. That indicates that our threads are disengaged from our receiver and that the barrel shroud assembly is ready to be removed. So with one hand on the muzzle and one hand back at the receiver, we're going to carefully wiggle this out of the receiver. Now you'll notice the barrel has slipped out of the barrel shroud. This is a good indication that the barrel is now free and there's no obstructions holding it. Nothing's been rusted or fastened in there to keep the barrel in place. So we have to wiggle this out to get it free of the bolt. Okay, that done, let's put it on the vise, or on the bench rather. Okay, barrel assembly on the bench. We can now take the barrel tube assembly out of the barrel shroud. We'll set the barrel aside with the nut, and then here we have the barrel shroud assembly. Now we're going to go back to the receiver because we're going to again reinstall this on our receiver for the next step. With the barrel shroud in place, we're going to turn the takedown lever in a clockwise rotation, this time to refasten it and resecure it to our receiver. This is the next step that we need to do in the takedown process. Okay, once you have that back in and secure, now we're going to go back to the muzzle and back to our bushing. Okay, now with our spanner end, we can now insert this back in here. We can actually either use the spanner and keep our fingers on the edges, turn it out, or if it's free enough, we can actually turn this with our fingers, which I prefer to do once it's broken free. More control. Now the barrel bushing has threads approximately a ½ inch long. Once you turn it out halfway, stop. My suggestion is to use a gloved hand, or I like to use a shop towel. I take the shop towel over the muzzle end, covering the bushing, my hand behind it. This will contain all the parts once they're released under the spring tension into the towel so you can contain them. Now we carefully turn with our hand, keeping the towel in place, keeping steady pressure. And once the barrel bushing has reached its end, the spring tension will force the bushing, the washer, and the spring out of the barrel shroud. And you'll know it when it comes out. You'll feel the tension of the spring. And okay, in this case what has happened, the bushing is free, but you'll see the washer is cocked, catching the spring. Keep the rag over it. Simply take a finger or thumb and just tweak it. It'll come out. And there you see, we've contained all our parts without loss. We have our barrel bushing. We have our barrel nut washer. And let's take a look at this. Nope, there's our spring. That's our barrel spring. We'll put that aside. There's the serrations I spoke of earlier. And there's the teeth on the back of the nut. That's what gives you that little grinding sound. That's what locks that in place. So we're going to set that aside. Now we're going back to the receiver end and the takedown lever. So again, we have to counterclockwise, one hand on the barrel near the muzzle and the other hand on the lever. Slowly turn out the takedown lever again. Once you have it out, and again, you see that we have free play there. We know that it's released. We take the shroud assembly off, lay it on the bench. Now, it's a real simple matter of we take the barrel in hand and we tilt it up and we allow the other internal parts to slide out the end of the barrel. So now let's review what we've got here. We've got the barrel nut, we've got the barrel nut washer, we have the barrel bushing, we have the barrel spring, and we have the barrel spring case. And then we have, finally, our large buffer spring. The buffer spring is a heavy spring. We're virtually impossible to compress. So there you have it. It's important to keep your parts in sequential order as they came out. They have to go back into the assembly the same way they came out. Otherwise, the gun will not function. For purposes, we're going to show you just how this reassembles. Just simply, this is how it looks like inside the barrel, inside the tube. These components are like this inside the shroud. And you have the washer, you have your barrel nut or bushing, and the barrel nut. This is how everything is contained inside the barrel shroud. We hope this was helpful to all you for your takedown on your 8s and 81s. And we hope that you now understand how the tool is designed and how it's supposed to be used. Again, taking the nut off first is incorrect. You must loosen the barrel bushing first. Once the barrel bushing is loosened, then you continue to the barrel nut and do the procedure as we have outlined it. Again, we hope this has been helpful to you, and we thank you for watching the video.